Good evening, everyone. Appreciate everyone coming through this evening. We're going to start with, it looks like a prayer to celebrate diversity as a unique blessing. There is great diversity among human beings. Physically, we differ from each other in things such as size, body structure, skin color, and facial features. We also differ from one another mentally, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, socioeconomically, geographically, and with regard to gender identity. One of the greatest challenges of a healthy spirituality is learning to appreciate and value the differences we find in one another and not to view these differences as threats to ourselves. Moreover, a healthy spirituality should lead us to celebrate our differences and to see them as a reflection of God's beneficence and creativity.
God has made us all of us alike, yet different in so many ways. People in our place of work and in our school come from different backgrounds. Many of us have different customs and speak different languages. Each and every one of us has a different way of reacting to any given situation. We should show respect for all those who have entered our lives and accept them for who they really are, children of God.
May God, who created a world of diversity and vibrancy, go with us as we embrace life in all its fullness. May the Son, who teaches us to care for materially marginalized and the underserved and the excluded, go with us as we try to be good neighbors in our communities. May the Spirit, who breaks down our barriers and celebrates community, go with us as we find courage to create a place of welcome for all.
O God, may your Spirit make strong in our hearts what unites us. Build bridges across all that divides us. United, make us rejoice in your diversity. And at one in our witness to your peace, a rainbow to your glory.
O God, you created all people in your image. We thank you for the astonishing variety of races, cultures, religions, and gender diversity in this world. Enrich our lives with ever-widening circles of friendship and show us your presence in those who differ most from us, until our knowledge of your love is made perfect in our love for all your children, through your Son, Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen. Amen. So I'd like to just take a moment to introduce the members of the steering committee. And as I introduce you, you can walk off the stage. Anthony McKinney, class of 92. Tony Fox, class of 14. Damian Elias, class of 92. Courtney Hamilton, my partner in crime over here, class of 92. And Nicholas Frontalaro, who's watching online, couldn't be with us, class of 2004. On behalf of the steering committee for the SEED Alumni and Allies Network, I just want to welcome you all and talk a little bit about how this network and this event came to be. And you can't do that without first talking about Donna. And I don't know where she's sitting, so I can't stare at her because she'll probably make me cry. There she is. You know, there are people in your life when you think back that if you hadn't met them, your life would not be what it is. And they set the path that you went on. And for many of us, I think Donna fills that space. And, and it still feels weird to me to call her Donna after all these years. For us, it was Miss Andrad. For many of you, it then became Dr. Andrad. But it's very strange being a grown-up and being able to say Donna. Donna's impact on me was, profound. And I saw Colleen Kelt was here today, and that's how I actually got to prep. I was Colleen's paperboy and neighbor, and she told Donna about me, and they called my mom about an open house, and Donna went and found me and called my folks and recruited me, and there was no choice where I was going to school. It was prep. It's very strange for me to be here on this stage because this is the spot where I've spoken public for the very first time after being voluntold by Donna that I would be doing that. And then she made me do it again and again and again. And every job I've had to speak publicly. So I thank Donna for that and being voluntold again, as many of us have been. My first internship, Donna made me apply for the program that got me that. That internship turned into my first job. Again, she's leading that path. So thinking about this, it was about 2 years ago that I was thinking about Donna and had said, I have to reach out and connect with her and thank her for everything that she's done. And it was in the middle of COVID, and that turned into a 2-hour Zoom where we caught up on 30 some odd years. And we talked about what she wanted as she started thinking about retiring and her desire. And a lot of it, of course, the way she is, was on us. And, she really wanted us to be able to have and build a network to help each other after prep, not just while we were here, but to build and leverage that network that exists for everyone else, and have it, an Alumni of Color and Allies network. So we got her on LinkedIn, which she's, her first social media account ever. We created the Fairfield Prep Seed Alumni and Allies Network group on LinkedIn, and we invite you all to join as that first piece, that external piece. The other piece was the internal. What can we do as a group to help prep? And, how can we give back and mentor and help those coming behind us? Because that's part of what Donna desires as well. And thirdly, and most importantly, we all wanted to honor her. And while Donna and I were talking about this network, Courtney and a bunch of alums were talking about, well, same thing. She's putting it out there. All of us were thinking about how we can thank her, honor her, and get back. And Courtney was pulling a group of people together to honor her in some way. And that's really how this event and this network and, everything that we have was kind of born. The steering committee came out of, those two efforts then coalesced to create this. So I really just want to tell that, share that story. And Donna, you mean a ton to us, and you keep track of us. You kept tabs on us. When I was partying too much at Fairfield U, I got a phone call from you. This woman, her network is deep, trust me. So again, I just want to share that little bit of history and background. With that, I'll welcome Christian Cashman up to the stage. Thanks, everyone.
Well, good evening. I hope you'll continue to enjoy drinks and food and hear the quiet hum of your plates moving and so forth. So please make yourself at home. But it's my great pleasure to offer a warm prep welcome to all gathered here this evening for this most auspicious inaugural event honoring over 30 years of Seed Alumni and Diversity of Prep. And it's my happy task to first offer thanks. So I want to say thank you to the steering committee, to our Seed Alumni of Color and Allies Network, who have worked so closely with Donna to make this at last a reality. Thank you to these men. Thank you. Certainly to Prep Advancement Communications, our tech team, to our beloved Seed alumni, friends, and family gathered, as well as some amazing FP retired faculty, administrators, and friends, our Fairfield Jesuit community. You all honor us with your presence. Thank you for being here tonight. But most especially on behalf of Fairfield College Prep, I acknowledge our immense debt of gratitude to Dr. Donna Andrad and welcome she and her family gathered here. Without Donna's passion, vision, wisdom, faith, and commitment, none of us would be here tonight. Thank you, Donna Andrad. So I can assure you you're in for a treat tonight. In this evening, we celebrate an amazing legacy and future of our SEED program at Prep. This evening, like all things SEED programming, has Donna's fingerprints all over it. I too was voluntold what to do this evening, so and you should not be surprised. Donna also made it clear to me, and I'm disobeying, that she did not want to be the center of attention this evening. She asked that our efforts be focused on celebrating our SEED brothers over the years and to embrace a hope-filled SEED future. And this is, of course, what makes Donna Andrad the quintessential woman for others, because she lives her Catholic and Jesuit faith with humility and grace. But Prep SEED program and Donna Andrad are synonymous. So therefore, we must acknowledge Donna's contribution this evening as a remarkable Prep giant and Jesuit educator. Donna has quite literally received every honor that can be afforded an Ignatian educator at Prep, in our East Province, nationally, and now internationally. Many know Donna just returned from the Jesuit Curia in Rome as a delegate on the International Commission for Women in the Society of Jesus. She spent 10 days with her international Jesuit educational colleagues and Father General Arturo Sosa, the Superior General of the Society of Jesus and the successor in a line to St. Ignatius himself. What is equally notable is that Donna is one of the most sought-after speakers and facilitators by Jesuit secondary schools, universities, and by the Jesuits themselves, because she is known for her keen intellect, her passion for Jesuit education and academic excellence, as well as her heroic defense of students and educators from underrepresented populations. I dare say that Donna Andrad has opened more doors for students of color, formed more faculty, and influenced the trajectory of Jesuit education as much as any laywoman in the entire United States. Well done. And if you know Donna at all, you know that the only thanks she wants and seeks is for Prep SEED legacy to grow, to thrive, and to expand more and more. As a trailblazer in Jesuit education, Donna has long been a champion of caring for the whole person and educating a faith which does justice. And long before it was in fashion to do so, Donna has called us all to the moral mandate to support diversity, equity, and inclusion as a pillar of Catholic Jesuit education. She then founded SEED's diversity program in 1989 and has been championing that cause ever since. Donna retires from Prep as its first ever Dean of Mission and Ministry with a 42-year legacy of graces too numerous to count. And Fairfield Prep has embraced Donna's vision of the beloved community, of kinship, of brotherhood and connection. We gather here tonight to honor her legacy and her service. And as the 17th president of Fairfield Prep and the director of this great Jesuit work, I stand here to assure you, Donna, and our alumni, and our friends, and our benefactors, that Prep will not shrink from our Ignatian call to continue to provide access, support, community, and brotherhood to the next generation of Fairfield Prep SEED men. That's my promise, Donna. God bless you. So may we always endeavor to emulate Donna's spirit of Ignatian generosity. And as we build upon her foundations, like Donna, never for our own praise and glory, but ad maiorem Dei gloriam, for the greater glory of God and the salvation of all the world. God bless Donna Andrad for 42 years of faithful service. Well done, good and faithful servant. Hail Donna, and hail Fairfield Prep. It is now my great pleasure to introduce to you my colleague, my mentor, my sister in Jesuit education, Dr. Donna Andrad.
Thank you. I'm very nervous. And thank you, Christian, and to the steering committee and to all of you who are here this evening. The SEED Alumni of Color and Allies Network spans 4 decades. From 1985, when I wrote the original proposal for this program, it's back on the table there. If you get a chance sometime, take a look at some of the paraphernalia or memorabilia of SEED in the back of the room. I haven't seen so many of you, maybe even since you graduated. And I am so moved. Some of you, especially, I'm talking now to our alum, have come from as far as Las Vegas this evening. Florida, DC, Georgia, etc. I mean, everybody, I'm so moved. And my students are here even from my freshman, from my classes in the 80s. They were my freshmen, some of them in the 80s. And the eldest alumnus here, and I told him I was going to do a shout out, and I hate to call him the eldest alumnus, but he's been a supporter of our SEED program, is Frank Barron, who is right here at this table, from the class of 1968, 69. So Frank Barron is here. And then, of course, we have a table of prep administrators and faculty whom I've known for 40 plus years who have all come out. We have current boards of governors here, Sally Bednar, her husband Dave Bednar, Ed Gormley and his wife Kathy, and past boards of governors, Randy Maltzby, and I believe, were you a governor too, Frank? Yeah. Oh, and he is, so okay. All right, so we have quite the crowd. Father Michael Tunney, who is also the provincial assistant for higher ed. And then my family. My family's here at table 2. I have family here from Georgia. One of my sisters is ill and could not be here. She has COVID. And I have another sister who is not here for some other personal physical reasons. So, but my family is all here. My mom, Frances. My sister Peggy, my nieces Dominga and Atia, my nephew Frank, and my great niece and nephew Lanaya and Travis. At that table also is Bill Hubner from the class of 1983. And my best friend for 55 years is at table 13, and she's raising her hand. Her name is Gail. And Gail is annoyed because, Gail's annoyed because she says, oh, I've been agonizing about what to get for you for this particular, for your retirement. I said, nobody's bringing gifts. And then there are gifts here, so she's annoyed. And Madeline Martinez Rosado, who was also one of my students in Upward Bound and at Bassett High School, and Rapunzel Johnson and their sons also. Our graduates. I could go on and on with all the many, many connections, but I'd like to thank everybody for coming tonight. And also, last but certainly not least, is my boyfriend Gus and my extended family at table, I can't see the table number, but the Shalas and the Lazars over there. Are over there. My good friend Ruben Goodwin, who is the successor to the SEED program, and Elliot Gualtieri also, who is successor to my role as the Dean of Mission and Ministry. We have had a wonderful, as you can see, if you take a look at this picture here, the top row is the steering committee, and there's 2 pictures of Kevin Altieri there. One, Kevin Altieri at the end as a student, and then Kevin Altieri as he pretty much looks now, which is still very handsome. And then the other prep administration and staff as well, the advancement office, and Ryan Murphy, who is let's give Ryan, put everything you see in terms of the PowerPoint that you were watching during dinner Ryan put together. And then very, very handsome young men on the bottom, Mr. Edward Gormley and Mr. Randy Maltzby. Randy's a former governor, and Ed is one of our current governors. So there, I did all those thank yous up front and acknowledgements because I really did not want to forget anyone at the end of my speech. So there's just so much that I have to say. So I think I'll begin. So I really want to thank everybody for coming tonight. And I want to talk a little bit about where we are and how we got here by talking a little bit about my Jesuit companions. The Jesuits, who were formerly known as the Society of Jesus, informally refer to themselves as the company or the society, okay? Because they are in the company in the Society of Jesus. So by extension, the Jesuits or the Society of Jesus also are in partnership with us as laity, as lay people. And so from the very, very beginning, the Jesuits have been very, very welcoming, and I wouldn't be where I am today without being in partnership with them and relationship with them. So I'd like to talk a little bit about this African proverb that I really love. It goes like this: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And that's how I feel about the Jesuits in everything that they've done for me, but mostly for Seed. So the first student of color to graduate from Fairfield Prep graduated in the first class of Fairfield Prep. He was a member of the class of 1942, and he graduated in 1946. Now, in his 75-year history of Fairfield Prep, John Zablowitz, who is with us tonight, he's a former faculty member and historian, wrote about this, the first African-American to graduate in this history. And this is what he wrote. I quote, "It is certainly significant that Jeffrey," his name was Jeffrey Townsend Cuffey, "that Jeffrey was amongst the first students to enter the school on opening day back in 1942. What that indicates is that Prep was an integrated school from day one. The importance of this fact should not be underestimated. At a time when there was de jure segregation under Jim Crow laws in the South and de facto segregation in many ways in many of the private and public schools in the North, Prep was integrated from its very inception. Mind you, this was a year before Jackie Robinson broke the color line in baseball by joining the Brooklyn Dodgers, and 9 years before Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat to a white person in Montgomery," end quote. So thank you, John, for reminding us that Fairfield Prep was always, in many ways, a forerunner in diversity. So in 1985, as I said, I wrote a proposal for the first diversity program in Jesuit schools. And now I stand here before you today, and I cannot overemphasize the influence of the Jesuits. And our campaign was called this year, "Who Opened the Door for You?" And we all had this campaign, and we talked about who opened the door. And who opened the door for me? I could say the Jesuits, and that's true, but who opened the door for me was God. Who did I walk through the door with was the Jesuits, Fairfield Prep school leadership, Fairfield Prep faculty, administrators and staff, and of course, I'm so moved, there are so many Seed parents here tonight. So many. Can I ask the Seed parents, this is what I used to do in the Seed program. So can I ask the Seed parents to please stand? Just amazing. Just amazing. Thank you. Thank you. So I'd like to just talk a little bit about this journey that I've had with the Jesuits. I was hired in 1980 to teach English. And in 1984, a new Jesuit came to the school to run things. So I was hired by Father Jim Bowler, And he was the first Jesuit I ever met. But in 1984, another Jesuit came and he said to me, I was in the faculty lounge, which is still right here. And he says, you know, Donna, this school is lily white. I come from the Bronx, and he had a Bronx accent. He was an Irish Jesuit. And he had said, I came from the Bronx, but there's no brown, yellow, black people here. And I said, well, listen, Father, prep is a revolving door. These kids would be in my classroom, and I was teaching English during lunch one day, and the next day they weren't here. I don't know where they went. We kept losing these kids. We weren't retaining them. And so he says, well, what do you think about that? I said, well, I have a lot of ideas. And so he says, write them up. So I did. I wrote a proposal called Educating to Diversity. Why must we address this issue? Now, you'll see that typewritten memo back there that I wrote to Dr. Robert Perota, who was also here today, who was a then principal of Fairfield Prep and an ardent supporter of diversity and a good friend of mine. And you'll also see right next to that there's a memo I wrote to him telling him to stop using the word minority and to use the word educating to diversity instead. So I wrote that memo. Shortly thereafter, I had begun the SEED program, and actually Bob listened to me. And so he brought that phrase to the national level, and it became a national goal for Jesuit schools. And I can't thank Bob enough, because that was so pivotal in my career, and actually it catapulted Prep's diversity efforts to national recognition. So I thank Bob for taking that term and bringing it to the national level. And then subsequently, following Bob doing that, I was asked to talk to all the provincial assistants all across the nation. We had 10 provinces then, and I didn't really know who they were. So they were in charge of education for the nation, for Jesuit schools. And I went and I talked to them, and I didn't think any big thing about it. I told them what I was doing. And about 3 months later, I started getting calls from all over the nation to go to Jesuit schools and help them begin diversity programs within their context. So I want to say again, that really wasn't me, that was God, because God put me here. And God was really, I think, for all of us, it's not about me, it's not about you, it's all about God. We all do everything that we do for the greater glory of God. And I based my work, my initial work, around the mission of the Jesuits. Okay, so that was how we started a lot of our diversity efforts. And so I did couch my research in our mission of the research of Howard Gray and Pedro Rupi's Men and Women for Others. But most importantly, I built the diversity program based on my own personal experience, because I knew what our kids needed here at Prep. I too was underprepared. I had gone to an inner city public school, which was not particularly rigorous. It was not an Ivy League school. And I was what was commonly referred to in the literature as underprepared. I was totally unequipped academically, socially, culturally, and emotionally. And I went to UConn. UConn was known then as the cow school, the dairy school, okay, because it was out in the country, and it was all about, they just had it was just a lot of cows and a lot of dairy farms. So I did not even go to a really rigorous school. Sorry, Greg, we did not go to a really, Greg Marshall was my classmate there. But we went to UConn, and when I started there, I really was underprepared. So when I came to Prep and had to think about starting this diversity program, I started it based on the things I knew the students would need. Now, those of you who were with me way back then in 1985 know that I began by calling the parents together. The first thing I did was get a group of parents together and said, hey, we're losing our kids. What can we do about that? I have some ideas. So as I said, I didn't do this alone. I did this with parents. There's this song by the Manhattans, There's No Me Without You, for those of you who know that from way back in the day. So there's no me without you. There's no seed without the parents. Then I started building it on recruitment and enrollment, and academic and cultural support services, faculty involvement, and the development of school-wide programming to foster diversity awareness. And as a matter of fact, the SEED program still has every single one of the efforts and outreach I did then, such as the peer tutor program, the ethnic brunch, which grew to the ethnic dinner. If you remember, we used to do this great potluck dinner, and it grew so large, we had to have it over at Fairfield University in their cafeteria. And now it's called the Diversity Dinner, which Reuben runs. The Martin Luther King Assembly. The annual Seed Dance, which made me want to pull my hair out of my head every year. The Brothers for Others Mentor Program. Honest to God, that was like, oh, I was like, why did I start this dance? And it's still going on. Seed cultural groups, the Asian Student Association, African American Cultural Club, and ASPIDA. Parent meetings, cultural trips, college tours, and we began the faculty committee on diversity. And John Hanrahan, who is here today, and Joe Garrix were a part of my original committee. We did all kinds of things to try to change the economic dispersion of funds. So we knew that kids coming here who are of color couldn't afford the school, forget tuition, they couldn't afford books, the shuttle bus. If they were in a public school, some of them might have gotten free lunch. So we started doing all kinds of things under financial aid to help that. And then also with John Hanrahan and Alicia Thomas, we formalized the university interns that would come here in guidance, but now also support the SEED program. So I have a lot to say about every president under which I worked, but I'm going to cut this short because we're running a little behind. I have something to say about, I've worked under 6 presidents. And the current president or headmaster today, as you met, is Christian Cashman, and he's not a Jesuit. But Christian Cashman, as you already heard, who is our current director of the work, and every single one of those Jesuits always supported diversity efforts at Prep. So I neither went fast, nor did I go alone, but I did go far. And so did the SEED program, accompanied by the Jesuits and President Cashman. I said to him a couple of years ago, you know, I'm getting older, fatter, grayer, I need to retire. And I need to do something to make sure that this network continues. Because when you think about it, we have the oldest network of students of color in the nation. You are... You can be a powerful lobby. And when I talk to Christian, boom, here we are. So that's the kind of support I've always had here at Fairfield Prep. So I talked a lot about me and the evolution of SEED, but it's not about me. As I said, it's not about you. It's not about us. It's about God. So I would ask you to keep in your mind, because later I'll talk a little bit about the network going forward, because this is not a one-off event. This is the beginning of a network. As I leave the school, I leave it in the capable hands of people like Reuben Goodwin and our other prep administrators and educators who will take diversity forward. I will still work with Reuben. Reuben's not necessarily thrilled about that, but I am going to continue to work with Reuben and this network. It's the only thing I'm going to do in my retirement. I am that committed to the work. Most of the students here tonight come from the decades of the 80s and the 90s, because that's when I began. In the 2000s, I became the academic dean, and Alicia Thomas co-moderated the program with me. So, and that's when we kind of ramped up a lot of the academic support services. So what we need to do is continue to build that network, because the kids in the 2000s and into now going into a little bit further into the 2020s on, there's not a lot of representation of them here. Most of you came back because of what we started in SEED and what our community was and what our network has been. So again, I'll bring you back to our capital campaign. Who opened the door for you? You could say me. No, but it's not me. No, it's not me. I just said that. You could say me, and I would say we, and I would say he, okay? So it's all of us together. And when a little bit later, I'll talk a little bit about the 5 pillars of our new network. And when I talk about those 5 pillars, I want you to think about who you can open the door for, or how you can open a door for others. I've got a lot to do. Yes, I'm still volunteering, and I will be reaching out to all of you to enlist your support and help. So I want to again thank President Cashman and everyone here, my family, our Board of Governors, our prep staff, administration, my beloved family and friends, my colleagues, but mostly the alumni of SEED. Thank you so much, and I really hope you have a great evening. We have a little bit more to talk to you about right now. I'm going to be talking about where, so that was the past. We're going to be talking to you about where SEED currently is. So thank you. So I'm going to ask Mr. Kevin Altieri. And by the way, your programs are on your table. On one side is the agenda. I'm going to ask Mr. Kevin Altieri to come forward and talk a little bit about our admissions picture. Thank you so much. Oh, Courtney, the video. I'm sorry. I am so sorry. I am out of order. So can I ask Damien, I'm sorry, Damien and Courtney to come forward. They have a special video. Thank you. My apologies.
Well, good evening, everybody. I want to say thank you all for coming out today. This is absolutely beautiful. When I look out in this crowd, I am totally amazed at everybody that I see out here right now. I'm looking at 30 years ago, people who I used to hang out in the halls with and have food fights in the same room right here with. So if you threw a piece of food in this room, please raise your hand. I love all you guys. Thank you. So real quickly, I just want to start off by saying we're going to explain the situation as far as these videos that we, interviews that we had with some of our fellow alum. What the idea came up when we were in one of the steering committee meetings that how about we try to track down some of our oldest SEED alum and an alum of color and possibly get to have an interview with them personally. And when we realized that might be a little difficult, we decided that we would try to do it on a Zoom and record it. And so that's what ended up happening. And I want to thank my buddy Damien here for doing the groundwork as far as doing all the technical things to get that done. I know, he's amazing with that stuff. And basically what we did, we just had a few interviews with a couple of old alum recorded, and just so they can have their word and say a few things about prep and a few of the things that they wanted to, add on as far as things they might want to say to Dr. Andrad in her retirement. Damien?
I will say that when Courtney and I were voluntold to do the interviews, we went crazy and talked about maybe renting an old car, getting some mixtapes and driving around the country and physically interviewing people. But nowadays it's hard to do that. So I will say it was an amazing experience meeting some people that I'd never seen before because they had graduated before us, and talking to them about their experiences here. And how similar a lot of the interviews ended up being. So you'll see what Ron has put together. But I just wanted to share one thing overall that I did notice. Sort of the theme that a lot of people talked about was this idea that Donna Andrad really loved all of us. And James Baldwin says, when someone loves you, you feel it. You don't have to hear it, you feel it in your heart. And I can't speak for anyone in the room, but man, I felt it from her. I still feel it from her. And I think a lot of people, at least that we interviewed, said the same thing. So they say more than just that, but I think that's a nice summation of what I heard from just talking to folks. So hopefully you guys enjoy the video. Thanks for everyone for coming too.
So my name is Daryl Avery, and I graduated from Prep in 1975. Early 70s, well, we're coming out of the post-civil rights movement, post-Black Power movement, etc. And I think at Prep, the newness of the duality of coming into that environment after coming out of that predominantly Black environment, I think it was a learning experience, not only for myself, but for Prep as a whole. Now, there were some people at Prep, to their credit. Father Sproul, fantastic. Mr. Mastroni, fantastic. Sean Meehan, who was there briefly, fantastic. Eddie Rowe, even Father. All of those particular type of gentlemen and students, there were a great number of students who, I wouldn't say they went out of their way, but they attempted to communicate and understand. Because I find that when you go to that type of institution, any white institution, they're looking at it from you coming into their institution. So you have to make the adjustment to their style of teaching, their way of thinking, etc.
I think like a lot of my peers, I was one of 3 African-American students, I think that year who were recruited. And we were entering a community where there weren't a lot of students of color.
Bridgeport, Fairfield, and Fairfield Prep were very different worlds in 1988, 87, and even when I graduated in 1993. And so I see where Prep is now and the things that they champion and the student body and the programs. And I think about the progress that has been made.
I truly believe that, Fairfield Prep did put that seed of faith in my heart that shaped the call for the future. Obviously, God knows our time more than we do sometimes, right?
In terms of things that I learned at Fairfield Prep, I really learned how to, number one, study and become academically prepared for what was to come afterwards. I don't know if I would have had that experience at that level had I had continued in the Bridgeport educational system. I believe that Prep prepared me for college. It also gave me an opportunity to learn how to navigate when I was in a space that wasn't reflecting the type of people that I had been around and grew up in. It gave me a chance to understand what it was like to be a minority, a Black person in a white world. But at the same time, it prepared me to know that I was capable of being able to compete on the same level and also excel. So if it wasn't for Dr. Donna Andrad and the SEED program, I really don't know where I would have went.
And I would say that Ms. Andrade is the most important person at Fairfield Prep in the last 40 years.
Dr. Andrad meant more to me than many women in my life. Prior to Dr. Andrad, Oprah Winfrey, Mariah Carey, Whitney Houston were my superstars. When I met Donna, the first day I walked into her office was the day when my life changed forever.
Prep helped to instill in me a lifelong love of service, and that would not have been possible without Dr. Andrad.
Fairfield Prep at that time, through Donna Andrad, was actually recruiting students, trying to find talented young students of color from the city of Bridgeport in particular to apply to Fairfield Prep. My dad heard about the program, met Donna, like most people, was blown away by her. Actually, my brother and my parents and I visited with Donna. My brother said no. My parents were like, you don't get a vote. And so I was on my way to Bullard Havens. Thanks to that meeting with Donna Andrad, I wound up at Fairfield Prep, and literally it changed the course of my life. Both the experience at Fairfield Prep, but also my relationship with Donna.
Dr. Andrad created diversity at Fairfield Prep. She went into the homes of students in Bridgeport and convinced them to apply, made sure they were accepted, convinced their families to allow them to have this opportunity, made sure that they were successful. I mean, she dedicated her life to supporting these young men at Fairfield Prep.
Because she actually recruited me from St. Anne's Elementary School in Black Rock in Bridgeport, and I have a memory of her visiting my 8th grade class and talking about Prep, and so I included Prep among the schools that I was applying to.
And I remember when we had to take the prep exam on Saturday, she came and she picked up one kid and second kid and third kid, and we were piled up in the car. And I think that was just, that kind of like was an indication of the experience ever since, just a pile of kids and her. And just, you know, I think she kind of brought a service spirit to it. She was a friend. I mean, she would boss us around, but I always felt like in a friendly, there was a friendly base.
My very first day at prep, I was in I don't know, I guess we were in homeroom, and this short little woman comes up to the door and looks through the window and knocks on the door, and she points. And I'm like, is she pointing at me? I'm the only Black person in the room. And then she says to me, come. She just beckons me to come here, and she takes me out of the classroom and brings me to her office. And then eventually there were other young men there, and she tells us why we're here, who she is, what she's hoping to accomplish with us being here, and that this was the place for us to come to when we were feeling like out of sorts, if we needed to talk about things, or if we were going through a bad day, or if we needed to celebrate.
Miss Andrade's office was a sanctuary.
Yeah.
It was a place where we could be safe, where we could feel like we belonged. And I know that office was the home and the reason why so many of us stuck it out and were able to go to the end.
Do you remember those the freshman orientation days? Get on campus for a couple days and we do activities. We get to know the teachers. And she came up to me and my mother introduced herself. She took me out of the line, brought us to her office, and there were stacks of books there used, you know, that we didn't have to purchase. She's like, start picking. And that for us saved a lot of money economically at that time, you know, because when we were financially struggling at that time.
When I think of Dr. Andrad, like you, I think about an educator who's passionate about her work. She's like manifestly dedicated to expanding high quality education and access to high quality education for young men, particularly those who are low income and from challenged backgrounds.
And then she was our champion, you know, to everyone. And I think very positive. She is demanding, but I never felt like she had anything against anyone, even the school when she was championing us. It was always in a positive spirit. And
I believe in the foundational values that we associate with Jesuit education. And I think in particular, cura personalis. There's so much about the Jesuit charism that influences me to this day. But the person who really modeled that for me was Donna Andrad. Dr. Andrad modeled what it looked like to be a reflective human being in practice, to live one's values, to look beyond the kind of petty issues that sometimes divide us, and to always keep at the front of one's consciousness our shared humanity. She did that in a number of ways.
I'll tell you one pivotal moment. I was in her office and I looked at the brochures that were on her table, and one of them was for UVA, University of Virginia. My grades were good. I was in the top, I want to say 20 percentile. And I saw University of Virginia. She's like, that's a good school. It's kind of hard to get into, but you should apply for it. And so I applied to that. I applied to a number of schools and I got in. And a lot of people were shocked that I got in. And I got into engineering program. And not only that, I got a scholarship, and having never seen it, I decided to go there. And it was the best decision ever, because I graduated there with a BA in mathematics and drama. Then I continued on to Columbia University. And now, you know, I'm doing what I do for a living, which is great. So when I got in, one of the young men in prep said, oh, you got in because of affirmative action. And that heated me so much, but I could hear Donna Andrade in my head, just walk away, come back to the office, and let's talk about it. Because I was so close to just losing everything that I had, because it was like our senior year. I was proud that I got in. And not only was I proud, I was like, you don't know how much I went through to come to this school, to afford the dress code, to be made fun of, because we got picked up by the short bus, because there weren't enough African Americans in Bridgeport. So they sent a short bus to pick up some smart students. I got made fun of at home. I got put in places that weren't comfortable at prep. I did everything I could to stay good with academics. And it just frustrated me so much how hard that I worked, and my SAT scores and my preparation and everything, that didn't matter anything, that they only saw that I might have been a handout because of the color of my skin. And at that moment, I was ready to risk everything. But I remember, that's not what this is about. You're better than this. Walk away, talk about it, deal with it, and get prepared for what God has in store for you. And so I was able to do that. And I really feel like that support system was not there in that environment. I don't know if I would have been able to manage and then continue to manage afterwards in my life going forward.
Dr. Andrad stayed committed to that school, to Fairfield Prep, for 40 years. And for many of those years, there was a feeling amongst the faculty, amongst the parents, and amongst the students, at least part of them, that she was causing problems, that she was instigating things that weren't present. And yet she remained staying committed. And I know why she did it. It's because of us. You know, she loved us and we loved her. And that happened class after class after class after generation, and continues to this day.
It's kind of amazing she stayed at prep as long as she stayed, right? The whole career. Like she started seed and she kind of got it to be a tree, and she doesn't seem like she's going to leave it anytime soon. It's just kind of amazing that we're talking here about her retirement from the same place where she started and how much she's done there.
Donna, I want you to know sincerely that I love you so much. And although I'm no longer at Fairfield Prep, you are always with me. As the Director of Diversity at Brunswick School, I take your teaching and your foundation. SEED is not just a program for students while they're at Fairfield Prep. SEED is a program for life.
And here we are at the culmination of her career. And what we see is that what she's built has strengthened the school in ways that are immeasurable, and that has made this institution one that can go into the future. That's not going to be relegated to the past, but can look to the future as a school that can enter a new era, a new understanding, with all of the building blocks that she put into place when no one else wanted those blocks put in there.
She was always a teacher at the core, always an educator, and she was always educating and always teaching. She weathered those storms because she believed in us. I think, again, when we talk about Jesuit values and that charism, Dr. Andrad was incredibly talented. She could have been anywhere. The fact that she decided to stay, the fact that she was so deeply invested in all of us and in our kind of personal and professional growth and development. When history books are written, they rarely focus on the mentors, the Charles Hamilton Houstons that facilitated the Thurgood Marshalls. And the reality is that Donna Andrad was our Charles Hamilton Houston. She was our Pauli Murray. She was the power behind this incredible, diverse group of leaders who are making a difference throughout the country. That's something to be celebrated, and who also take and carry those Jesuit values forward.
So thank you. There's many of you who were here who were in the video, so I appreciate that. And it certainly wasn't easy. What my students experienced, I experienced here. There were faculty who were not happy that I was here, that I was changing the face of Fairfield Prep, literally and figuratively. There was resistance from the city of Bridgeport. I couldn't get into schools to recruit. I had to go to community centers and churches because they perceived me as taking the cream of their crop, taking the best kids out of the system. There was resistance from parents when I first came here because I was an Ivy League educated. And because I looked different. I had cornrows in my hair and beads, and it was very, very difficult at the beginning. But look at us here now. So, we don't get anywhere, right? Nothing is worth anything without pain, right? You can't know pleasure, you can't know joy without sometimes going through those trials and tribulations. So I want to thank all of you for walking with me, because I could not have done any of that. And I did not do any of that. It was, thank you. I know, this is not the Black church, but it was. Thank you. Thank you very much. So I'm going to turn it over to Kevin out here.
right. Thank you very much, Donna. Donna, real quickly, I know that you have voluntold us all to be here tonight. You've also told us that we're not allowed to make this about you at all. But we know that's ridiculous, right? All of us do. And we also know that while our faith tells us that you're right, that it was God. It was God that put you here. But it was Dr. Donna Andrad that answered God's call. Okay? Thank you for doing that. Thank you for pushing through. Thank you for helping all of the boys at Fairfield Prep push through for so many years. What you've done has created a world where today Fairfield Prep looks very different, right? I'm going to throw some figures on the screen for you to tell you a little bit about what Fairfield Prep looks like today. But know that that is not something that I did as VP for enrollment. I mean, what does that even mean? That's not something that the leadership of today has done without you. Okay. So what does Fairfield Prep look like today? That's not helpful to you. I apologize for that. But what that tells you is that today, the student body of Fairfield Prep is made up of 27% students of color, just over 1/4. That is a far cry from the class Uhuru Williams was talking about with 3 students of color in his class. Fairfield Prep has come there because of you. This year, this freshman class, the class of 2026, is, in the year that you retire, the single most diverse class in Fairfield Prep's history, at 31% students of color. And that's made possible because of all the work that you've done. And to tell you a little bit about how that's done, right, outside of the work of Dr. Donna Andrad, right, is that Fairfield Prep is, the tuition today is $23,700, $750. But $3.3 million of need-based financial aid were given out to to families of young men who want to be here, who work to be here, and who deserve to be here. Of those, that $3.3 million, 34% of the student body is receiving. 34%. The average financial aid award is $12,600, which, do the math, is just about 50% of tuition. Fairfield Prep is affordable to families, to boys today, to help make it the most diverse school in the town of Fairfield, the most diverse high school in the town of Fairfield, right? Donna, that is you. That is you. But those numbers tell a story about what Fairfield Prep looks like today. I promised Donna I wouldn't be long. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass it off to Mr. Ruben Goodwin, who's going to tell you about what all of our students are doing today and how the SEED program Donna built lives on today under his shoes.
All right, Donna said she was nervous. I'm gonna have 250 people waiting for me in the parking lot if I don't do this right. So first, I just want to say, I didn't go to Fairfield Prep, but I went to a school just like it. And this is my 4th year here. So just like many of you, I have 4 years serving under Donna Andrad. In those 4 years, I have been voluntold time after time. But honestly, everything that Donna's told me, all of her wisdom, has got me to this point. And it's gotten so many of you in the room to this point in your lives as well. Donna is highly educated and her intellect guides her. But the love and the passion that exists within her heart kind of reigns true and kind of just fills the room when you're with her. And she kind of lets that guide her. And I try to take a little bit of her with me as I do this work, because I know the success that she's had, and I just want to parallel some of that success within what I do for the boys here. So the SEED program's come a long way in 30 years. And what I've inherited here at Fairfield Prep is a program that's already running. I'm just trying to do it justice. And Donna's kind of paved the path for me and for all the students that we have today. And I can tell you right now, there's 168 students in the SEED program right now, but students can opt into the program. So there's 202 students in the SEED program today, this year. And that is because of Donna. It's not due to anything I do. It's because of the legacy that she's left behind. And I think families that Kevin reaches out to, that I go and speak to at schools in Bridgeport or Stanford or Norwalk, they know what prep is now. And they know what kind of school it is because of Donna and because of the work she's done. The SEED program has kind of infiltrated every nook and corner of Fairfield Prep. And the work is not just done by myself or Kevin or anybody in admissions. Every single one of our faculty members here has bought into the program. I don't know if that was the case before. It wasn't the case before. Every single administrator that I speak to on a daily basis, they're an integral part of the success of SEED. And I don't know if that was always the case. I do know it wasn't always the case. But where we're at right now with the program, it's just, honestly, it's unbelievable to be a part of. The academic support, the social support, the cultural support services that we offer to our students on a daily basis don't just allow these students to be successful here during the day. It allows them to be successful on the field, when they go home, in their part-time jobs, within their families, and it permeates their neighborhoods. We send our students home, and they go home and they talk to their friends, and they share their Jesuit education with the people around them. So whether we know it or not, our SEED students are transforming their own neighborhoods. And that Jesuit education they receive here is going around tenfold in Bridgeport, in Stanford, in Norwalk, in Stratford, in Fairfield, in so many different communities. Now, I went to a school just like St. Joe's, oh, Jesus. I went to St. Joe's, all right. I went to a school just like Prep. I know, the competition, I know. And my mother, she worked hard. She worked 3 jobs to send my brother and myself there. And when I went to school every day, I felt different. I felt like I was a tidbit of an outsider. Nobody really looked like me, dressed like me, talked like me. And it was different for me, and it was tough. So I know what our students go through on a daily basis. I know the feeling of not wanting your mother to drive her car in because it didn't look like everybody else's car. I know what it felt like to not want to have your friends over your house because it didn't look like their houses. That's the feeling I'm trying to make sure our students don't have to come to school every day with. The feeling that they don't feel accepted in our hallways, I know how that feels. So I don't want that for our guys. So we can run a million different programs and support systems, but what I'm focused on this year and every year of my job is to make sure our students feel like this is their school. I look around this room and I know so many of you might have came here to Fairfield Prep and you felt like you were kind of in a school within a school. Like the SEED program was your school and everything else kind of, you didn't own it or you weren't included. That's a feeling I don't want for our guys. I know how it feels, and I know that that's a weight that you would carry on your shoulders. And when you don't have to carry that weight, you can can focus on your academics. You can focus more on athletics. You can focus more on your extracurriculars. You can be that much more of a better young man, and you can listen and focus and do so much more with yourself when you're not carrying that weight. So we do a lot of great things here, but I think that's something that I'll always take with me and that I'll always want for our guys. So when you guys come back and speak at our seed meetings or you support our guys, please remember to talk to them about that. Make sure they know about that feeling and make sure they know how lucky they are to have a place like this that cares so much about them to advance their futures so they can be the best people they can be. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate you so much. Take care.
So here comes the voluntelling part. This is not a one-off event. We have alumni reunions here at Prep, and I hear, oh, there was only 3 students of color there, 2 students of color there. They're not coming back as well as they should, or in numbers that they should. So when we talk about the Alumni of Color and Allies Network, there's a couple of operative words there, alumni of color and our allies. And I would like to say that our allies are those students who, as Ruben said, joined the program. They didn't have to be in seed. They were sometimes, students who I recall in my office having kids come in who were what we would say today were, we talk about being men and women formed with others, and those others were kids who were only the G word in LGBTQ, who would come out and talk to me in my office and felt comfortable doing that. It might have been a student who, as I think Charles said in his portion of the video, who didn't really feel comfortable here, and like Ruben said, didn't really feel it was their school. So when we talk about alumni of color, they had specific, I think, issues and obstacles to overcome, but obviously they did and have been very successful, and you're all here tonight. So we are going to continue that because, as I said, we are 4 decades of alumni. I'm going to talk to you about the next steps and the plans we have to continue this network into the future. So there are, I don't have a clicker. Do I have a clicker? I do have a clicker. Can I use this clicker? Okay. Okay. All right. So anyway, we have this is the overview of the 5 pillars for our Alumni of Color network. The first is networking. The second is mentorship. The third is support. The 4th is promote. And the 5th is donate. Where am I pointing this? It's not advancing. I'm sorry. Where do I point it? Oops. Okay, too fast. Okay, so in terms of networking, many Jesuit schools have alumni of color associations, but Fairfield Prep is perfectly poised to build a powerful, diverse network of alumni. It's alumni of color and allies, as I said, and it's the first of its kind. It's mission appropriate because it's men for and with others, and we are modeling diversity, equity, and inclusion. And it is the first network in which we just don't have only alumni of color, but we have people who have been our allies who are Caucasian. Technology will enable you to participate as much as or as little as you wish in our network. We want you to attend particular programs and meetings that we will be putting out to you. And you could do that via Zoom. We also want you to put your contact information on our website. We have testimonials, we'll have videos from back in the day, and we want to start to populate our Alumni of Color and Allies network. You will be able to network because of technology, again, across decades, geographic areas, interests, and career, social justice projects, because I have many students call me and say, hey, Dr. Andrad, I have an idea about doing something in my community. And so imagine our network if we could talk about that as alumni, and you could have a program in one community being replicated in another community, and our alumni are networking that. And you will also be able to network across personal interests. What you'll see on your tables is there is a QR code. It's in the frame, and you can sign up tonight, okay? And I could start volunteering you as soon as possible. So you can take your camera, your phone, and take a picture of that QR code, and you will be putting your information into that. So I think that one thing that's very important is this network, okay? Being able to network with each other, to do lots of things with each other. We have alumni who are in the arts. We have alumni who are engineers. We have alumni who are lawyers. We have alumni in social work and social justice work, etc. So just imagine the things we can do. So I would like you all tonight to please sign up for this network. So that would be step one. Step two, I'd like you to start to assisting Ruben, who is the Director of Diversity and Community Engagement, to coordinate activities for our Seed Brothers for Others program. Okay, so we have a program, and we have activities for those students, and perhaps those of you who are local can participate in that, or those of you who are not local can do things via Zoom. I'd like you all to also mentor students one-on-one. I'd like you to mentor them academically, socially, emotionally, and spiritually. Our kids need you because you are successful. You have gone through a lot that they are about to go through, and they could use your mentorship and you as a role model. I would like you to continue beyond mentoring to supporting our students. I'd like you to pay it forward. Again, to he whom much is given, much is expected, and that's all of you. Okay, I would like you to assist Ruben in some of our programs that we offer. The Dr. Martin Luther King Assembly, speak at the diversity dinner, speak at parent-son meetings, speak at our career panels, and we have lots and lots of other things that we do in the school that we would like your participation in. Again, you could do as much or as little because it's technology. And if you're local, you can make it on campus. If you're not local, we'll get you involved in some other way. So I'd like you to do service to Seed. I'd also like you to support us by doing service to Fairfield Prep in general. We have a strategic plan, and in that strategic plan, Pillar 5 is really focusing on engagement of alumni and growth of our brotherhood. You've heard people talk about the Prep Brotherhood. So what would happen is not only do I want you to support Seed, but I'd like you to support Fairfield Prep in general. Faculty may invite you to speak in their academic classes. Maybe, I think earlier this year I sat in on Griffin Reedy's class. He brought Brendan Ruane back. Jay Ruane, who's a lawyer. So Jay came back and he talked in a class. You can speak to the student body. The administration may ask you to come and be a guest speaker on a given topic. You could also participate in our guidance programs when invited by John Hanrahan and the guidance counselors. And then finally, Christian Cashman may approach you to engage in leadership opportunities in the future. So I would like for you to, again, network, mentor, support, and the fourth pillar is to promote futures. I would like you to assist Ruben to create and manage a Seed college student database. We need this because once you graduate, we lose you. It took me a long time to find a lot of you, okay, to bring you back here, because we don't have records. We don't have your emails. We don't have your addresses and your cell phone numbers. We don't know what you've done after Fairfield Prep in your career to bring you back to help us with our students that are currently here struggling like you did. So we need to support you in college. We need to track you in college and offer academic support if we can help. And we need to connect you, okay, with other alumni while you are in college. So we'd like you to promote futures by, again, helping us track our current students. The second way we'd like you to help us promote the future of SEED students is to assist the Director of Diversity, who is Ruben, in community engagement, to participate in Prep for Success. We have a career readiness program that's run by one of our former guidance counselors, Suzanne Gorab. And so we are trying to get those students ready for college, and we would love you to participate in that particular program. So it's a career readiness program, and based on your careers, we might be able to have you come back and help us with that. Secondly, if you are in the kind of job that offers internships, if you have a business that might offer internships for juniors and seniors in college, that would be helpful, because our kids need jobs in the summer, they need money, and they need to really get an idea of what it is they want to do with their career. And then we also have, I'd like you to assist Ruben and the school, we have an alumni service corps. So we have 2 students here tonight who are part of that, who are back here at Fairfield Prep, volunteering their time in all varieties, all aspects of the school. And so we have that alumni service corps, and maybe you can, some students that could participate in that who are alumni and help us promote that program. We would also like to bring back faculty of color. Now, some of you are, I think most of our graduates really don't go into education, but how are we going to have faculty of color here? Are we ever going to have faculty of color beyond myself? Right now, following me, I was here 20 years before we had a second faculty member of color, and that was Mrs. Thomas. And then now we have Mr. Davis, but he's not teaching in the classroom. We have Mrs. Naiman. She is our registrar. And we have a couple of other faculty of color. We have Stephen Soto, who's in our science department, and Janae Penn, who's in our English department. But what are we supposed to do? Not only do students of color need faculty who are role models, but white students need faculty of color. And to see them as viable, powerful people. So we want to have employment opportunities for faculty at Prep, for people to come back as teachers at Prep, but there are other occupations here at the school as well. So we would like people to come back and be employed at the school. So we would like to continue our alumni network, and if we track students through college, we would be able to bring those students back. Finally, of course, philanthropy. If you can, make a gift to Fairfield Prep. If you can, make a gift to something we call the Beyond the Craft Classroom Fund. We have a fund where it's beyond tuition, as I mentioned, for students who want to go on a mission-related trip or a cultural trip, but they have no money. For kids who might need books, for kids who might need a lunch stipend, for kids who might need money for the shuttle bus. And so if you have a particular interest in any of those things, you can make a gift to our Beyond the Classroom Fund. Or you can also make a gift to the Donna Andrad Endowment Scholarship. This scholarship was started by the class of 2001. The person who started that, or the group of parents who started that, are here tonight. They are Lynette Gaines, Estelle Johnson, Helen Exius, and a number of other parents from the classes of 1998 to 2000. Those parents started that in 2001, and 20, some odd years later, We currently have $100,000 in that particular fund. So we'd like to grow that endowment because $4,000, the interest on that throws off about $4,000 a year. And so we award that to a student of color and who needs financial assistance. And if we could grow that endowment, we could give even more money. And this money is in addition to the $3.3 million that Kevin Altieri already talked about that we have and give. So I know it seems like a lot, but our tuition is high. And whatever you can do to give, we have students here tonight that I know their companies that they have given some money because their companies did matching funding. Okay, so the company matches whatever they donate. So we would like you to consider that. So really, that's the end of my voluntelling you. Those are the 5 pillars of our new alumni network that we would like to grow. And so what we're going to do is when you click on that QRL code and you sign up, we're going to have you sign up for one of those 5 pillars or more. Wherever you're interested, we're going to, do kind of like a survey inventory or an inventory survey. I'm tired. An inventory survey, and try to plug you in to where your interests lie. So if you're interested in being a big brother, that would be great. You can, sign up for that aspect. If you're interested in speaking in some of our programs, you can do that, et cetera, et cetera. So again, we ask that you please consider networking amongst each other, supporting each other, promoting futures, engaging and donating, okay, to our particular efforts in the new Alumni of Color and Allies. So I'd like to say thank you to the steering committee for the Fairfield Prep Alumni of Color and Allies Network. Both, I think Courtney, Damian, and Pablo talked a little bit about that committee. And you should know that that committee, just the alumni, met with me for a whole year. That was painful for them. They met with me for a whole year, and then we engaged the Fairfield Prep administration to do that, to join us as well. So again, those people in that top row all met with me for an entire year when we were trying to figure out what we wanted to do. And then we started engaging Fairfield Prep administration and staff to help us put together this event. So this is where we are. And I'd like to thank all of you who have contributed to the SEED program over the years, either financially, personally, with your time, with your love, with everything that you've given to us. I will close the program now. I think I'm the last speaker, thank God, except for Ed Gormley and Randy Maltsby. So I'm going to ask Randy, who's a former board of governor, to please come up, and he will be followed by Ed Gormley, who's a current board of governor. And these 2 men really support our SEED program.
Thank you. Thank you, Donna. So I'm graduated from Prep in '91. I joined the Board of Governors probably about 20 years ago. And I joined the Board of Governors because, like many people in this room, if you're a graduate from Prep, there's at some point in time in your life when you realize the man you are is because you went to Prep. And so when you get that call, as Donna talks about the network, when they call you, answer the call. So there are 2 other things I want to talk about from the perspective of the Board of Governors. For probably 15 years or so, the Board of Governors, one of their top priorities was they asked themselves constantly, what will Fairfield Prep be without a Jesuit at the helm of the school? And we took all sorts of steps to prepare ourselves for that day. This event tonight is us saying, what will SEED be without Donna Andrad here? This network that she's trying to create is the first step and us making sure that we institutionalize everything that she's done for 42 years. We have taken it for granted. She's gone. She's about to walk out the door. So fill out those QR codes. Let everybody know where you are. They found me for the Board of Governors because somebody else referred them to me. Al Rozier, another SEED alumnus. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't have gotten the call. We're all here tonight to answer the call. Number two, Kevin Altieri put a stat up on the board tonight. Fairfield Prep's tuition is $23,500, basically. That's not enough to actually cover all this stuff. What covers all this stuff is donations. What moves the needle is alumni giving back to prep. That's what moves the needle. This didn't exist when I was here. The two buildings weren't connected when I was here. There's a new McLeod Center downstairs that's apparently just amazing. That all exists because of donations. We can only move the needle if we come out of our pocket. So I hope this night is the first day of establishing a better foundation for SEED without Donna Andrad. Thank you so much for everything you did for me, my family, and for prep. Thank you.
This makes me nervous every time I get up here. I speak in a lot of places these days, and this is always my toughest audience. Thank you for your patience. If I cry a little bit, it happens. Just clap for me, and we'll get through it. So let me just start real quick here. So I'm really, really honored to be here. When I was told by Donna, I was so humbled, and to see everyone else who's come back to speak, from Randy, obviously, who was ahead of me on the board, and I got to overlap with and learn so much from, and our families have spent so much time together watching the kids grow up together, to, Rashad Ford, who was a couple years behind me at school, and we got to reconnect over this event, to Manton, who I got to give 2 huge hugs to for the first time in a couple of decades, probably. It's so honored to be here, and to Pablo and the rest of the steering committee. Thank you, guys. It's just been awesome, and we're here for Donna, and so I just want to say thank you one more time for that. So beyond that, obviously, there's a couple things I want to share, and everything we've talked about tonight, I think, is exactly leading us in the right direction from a Board of Governors perspective. So let me just take a quick trip back in time to frame this up from my perspective. But I came here in '91 from St. Augustine's in the Hollow of Bridgeport, which is only about 4 miles away. But there's some St. A's grads in the back. Thank you. His mom was my 3rd grade teacher. Only 4 miles away, but it might as well have been on a different planet. And the rolling green lawns of this campus contrasted very starkly to the concrete jungle on Bucquonic Street in the Hollow. And for those who might remember those years, that's when the Latin Kings killed a couple of guys right outside the front of the school, when the teachers told us not to pick up the crack vials on school cleanup day. That was the world we were in Bridgeport. It was a war zone. Dr. Andrad welcomed those of us who came from those kinds of environments into her office as a safe place. The storied halls of prep were great, but they were a culture shock for us. Whether you were from an Irish immigrant family like mine, or a Black Baptist family like Rashad's, or Jamaican like Manton's, or any combination between, she welcomed us all. But we had to behave in that office, if you guys remember, and she enforced it. And I still remember my freshman year thinking, oh, this is fun, we got this place to go hang out with, until the day she picked up Kevin Fudge's book bag. You guys who were there remember this. She picked it up and hurled it down the hallway because he was acting out in her office, and she said, that is not the place for that. That woman is strong. Don't let her size fool you. So in that office, we were bound together by our differences, or so we thought. She helped us find our similarities, which turned out to be far greater. She held us to the motto of men for others, regardless of faith, race, or orientation. She and Prep gave us the tools to be bigger than those parochial identities and to join a worldwide community of Jesuit brothers, rich in viewpoint diversity. And the inclusive diversity she nurtured, based on appreciation for our individual differences and personal responsibility for our actions, didn't tolerate excuses based on any labels. It didn't matter that my single mom didn't finish high school or that Rashad's parents were Black. We were held to the same standards, and for that, we were afforded the same opportunities. And in so doing, she gave us the dignity of our own agency. We talked about network a lot today, and many times over the years, I'm going to embarrass Rashad right now. He and I talked about what it was like to navigate the world beyond Bridgeport. Where is Rashad, by the way? Where did he end up? Okay, over there. Checking his phone. Thanks, bud. We talked about how to navigate Bridgeport, and sometimes, frankly speaking, my old neighborhood would suck me back in. And for those who were around Bridgeport in those years, you know what I mean. Or I'd see other kids from Prep who were born on third base, hit a home run, and I'd say, WTF, why does he get all the breaks? What about me? Whenever that chip on my shoulder would get too big, I think back to the wise words Rashad said to me during our first year in college together. Eddie, calm the fuck down. Be patient. The cream always rises to the top. Thank you. We are that cream. And we owe our rise in no small part to that woman right there. Dr. Andrad instilled a culture of belonging at Seed that would be one of her greatest enduring legacies. We belong here. Over the quarter century since I graduated, that culture has been carried on and nurtured by first Alicia and now Ruben, who I had the great fortune to work very closely with on multiple programs, and the program is in great shape. They have cared for many other St. A's grads, including Joe Garrix, who's back there somewhere, Tony Fox, who you guys heard from, Jose Dataram, who wasn't here today, but I've been able to mentor straight from St. Augustine's through college, and lots of others from other schools all over Fairfield County. And we're going to continue to do so for generations to come. But as she told us, let's think about what that future generation needs. The future us, they need our help. What better place to invest our time, talent, and treasure than right here in Seed? So it's with very humble gratitude tonight that my wife and I announce a matching gift of up to $25,000 for every dollar contributed by a Seed graduate into the program, any program within Seed. Money is not the only thing, but as Randy said, it's an important thing. Seed needs your time and talent too. Talk to Ruben, get involved with mentoring, scholarships, networking, or wherever else he says these young men need your help. It could be as simple as sitting down to lunch over once a quarter with these kids and talking about what that cultural shock juxtaposition was like for you, just like Dr. Andrad did for me and for everybody else in this room. Find your spot to get engaged. The boys need you. Dr. Andrad, thank you for all you've done, and good luck in the next chapter.
And thank you for your generosity. What a tremendous gift and opportunity for all of us. Thank you, Ed. And Pat. Connor's here too, Ed's son. Thank you, Connor. Thank you so much. So I'm going to turn it over to Christian Cashman. And after Christian has his final words, you know what we always do, picture. So to be up here, all of the alumni, after we're done with Christian. Thank you, Christian.
You stay right here. So I'm asking Donna to stay for just one moment. Well, many powerful words have been shared tonight. And St. Ignatius of Loyola used to speak about tears of consolation. Those tears in which the Spirit moves you to be so consoled, so full of joy, so full of the Spirit's movement that you're brought to tears. And I think many of us have been brought to that place tonight of great consolation. And Donna's great gift as a woman for others is really touching the heart of one boy, one soul, one brother at a time. And so I think that we can certainly give thanks to God for that gift. We've also been given a call to action to continue to help one boy, one soul, one brother at a time. So we know you have a lot of prep tchotchkes, but you got to have the last one, which is a place to rest your weary self after 42 years. So in honor of your 42 years, Donna Andrade, we give you a seat. Now, Gus, you have to paint something for her to sit and look at in that chair. So again, I just thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for supporting Fairfield Prep. God bless you. And please, let's get a seat picture. God bless. Thank you, Hail Prep.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, come on, no. Tonight, there were no wasted words. So. Thank you. Thank you. Unbelievable. There are just no words. That's right. Let's go. Let's go. Thank you so much. So good to be with you.